All right, we're now recording. I'm going to send it right to Tim Dwyer to start the session.
I think what I want to start off with is to make sure everybody does remain muted because of the fact that I'm going to have to kind of control the cameras. So Jimmy, I had I think I'm going to have Jeff handle the chat this morning, if that's okay.
Sure.
Because I want him, he and I and Kevin are going to be the three, I think, that I want the cameras on, and we're just going to see how this works. Okay. You look serious, Kevin. You ready?
Yeah, good to go.
I'm going to see if I can share something here. Let me roll this out. My plan, or our plan for this week really, is going to be a two-part engine performance kind of diagnostic from a distance session to kind of show you all that how it might look to have your students, you know, in an online environment, and all kind of I guess collectively trying to help diagnose an engine performance problem. Hang on a second. The expect it to be clunky because we've been kind of playing with this thing and we overthought it, and then we kind of backed up and decided to take it easy, and not necessarily take it easy, but okay. Do you see the PowerPoint, basically engine performance?
Yes.
Okay. Calling this a campfire teaching technique, and the point being that we're all kind of gathered around a car. In this case, it's a training aid. It's an engine bench that starts and runs, and we're all going to corporately try and diagnose a condition, a customer concern. And at the beginning here, I want to probably illustrate how to do this with Jeff and I kind of talking back and forth, but eventually I would like everyone else to kind of through the chat room throw out some ideas. And how far we get today, I have no expectations. I don't know that we'll get all the way through this particular scenario, and that's good because I want to kind of continue it tomorrow. If we get through this one today and we're all pretty happy with it, we'll do a different one tomorrow. And then Thursday, we're going to talk about how to assess what we've been through today and tomorrow. I mean, part of what we've been, I think part of a missing link on what we've been addressing in these webinars is, you know, how to do online training, how to do distance training. And then we've had kind of discussions about what's working and what isn't working, et cetera. But I want to we need to layer in, how do we find out if the students are really learning this way? So I'm going to ask your input on this. This is going to eventually turn into you probably contributing to the diagnosis of this. But let's get started and see how it works. And that's probably the best thing. I found my students were always very forgiving. You know, if we tried something new and it didn't work, then we thumbs down and we move on and try something else. But I got a feeling that this is going to work well. So first of all, we're working on a 2014 Hyundai Accent with a GDI engine, the G4FD engine, and it's manual transmission. Customer concern: engine is hard to start, and then the check engine light came on. So I'm going to verify the customer complaint. This is where it's going to get clunky because I'm going to go back and try here to, hang on. I'm going to switch to Kevin. Kevin, I think. Oh, hang on a second. I need to unshare.
I'm there.
I know. Sorry.
There we go.
Okay. So this is the 2014 Hyundai. We I want to start off before we have a customer concern. My point is, we've got an engine that starts and runs correctly. So let's illustrate that. Have Kevin start it up, and you can hear that it starts and runs. Okay. Actually, leave it on for just a second. I want to point out there's no check engine light. Okay, no check engine light. We've got, yeah, everything else looks okay. No fault codes detected, anything like that, okay? So go ahead and turn it off and turn the key back on. And I'm going to show you something. This is kind of partially to show you what we're doing on this engine bench. Kevin, I guess, explained a little bit before we got started that we've got a new feature on our engine benches where you can insert faults through a human machine interface, and it's that tablet up there on the right. I don't expect you to see that. I'm going to actually share what that looks like in just a second. Actually, let me do that right now. And I'm going to show you what we're going to do. We're going to actually put a scenario in there, a case study, so to speak.
When do you want to share the assessment?
Once we start it and get the code.
Okay.
Okay, before we start actually diagnosing here.
Okay.
So we're and that's a good point. We're going to do a kind of a online type of an assessment in the middle of this also to kind of show you how that works too. So hang on here. This is the part that's going to be. Okay, you should see my screen. You should see.
Yes, we
The
do.
HMI, and I'm going to call it the HMI. I'm going to clear some stuff out here real quick. Okay, that is what the tablet looks like. That Kevin is going to be introducing a case study, we call them, into it. So I want to throw this out real quick. Today's lesson isn't about this, but I want to show you this. And so what I want to do is we're going to go through the actual plan for today and tomorrow, but the after session that we have when we turn the camera off here at the half-hour point, I'd be more than happy to pull this back up and illustrate all that it does if you're interested. But for right now, I'm going to kind of show you what we're doing. We've got a student, everything in blue is student-led type instructions, and they can come up and do this on their own. So you can tell your student you want him to go put in case study number 2, and he would walk over and press the case study button. You would get a list of case studies. He's going to press case study 2, and you can scroll up and read, and basically it says clear all codes before beginning each case. We've already done that. Follow OEM troubleshooting sequence. Use linked documents, and I'll show you those in a minute, for wiring diagram and breakout box. You can explore the scan tool. You can see if there's any codes or data that lead you to the root cause. You can take measurements at the breakout box and report your findings to the instructors. Okay? And we've got links here that take you right to wiring diagrams, or you can get it from the main menu. I'll take you here and show you. We've got Pro Demand already built into it. I can pinch and zoom. So you have all the service information from the wiring diagram point of view. You've also got the breakout box. So you've got the service information to tell you what all the pins. Can you all see that pretty well?
Yeah, it's
I
very.
guess I'm going to say yeah because I told you all to mute. So start doing
Yeah, it's
sign
very
language
clear,
here.
Tim.
Okay. So my point is, when the student goes up here and he puts a case study in and the fault, so to speak, is inserted, they have all the information that they need trapped into this tablet that they'll need to diagnose it. Fair enough? Okay, so I'm going to go back and go to Kevin. Kevin, I'll probably have to have you share your camera again.
Yeah, I'm doing that as we speak.
Okay, so you're going to, you have the key on, you're going to do the same thing I just did. You're going to pull up the student case study,
Yep.
number 2. You're going to insert it. The green button that he's touching is going to turn orange when it's inserted.
Oh, geez.
Is that thing just spooling?
No, it says cannot perform this action when the product interface module is disconnected.
Okay. We let it set too long there. So leave the key on. Now,
Yeah.
actually, turn the key off and you're gonna have to reboot the tablet.
Ah, jeez.
So this is probably a good time to
Do the,
do an
Yeah.
assessment.
yeah, let's do that.
Okay. So what we're trying to show here is how do you question and respond with the students? And I am going to copy the link over here and then just go through this with you all for a second. So the preview of this assessment, if you're working from a computer, looks like this. I'm going to put the link in the chat when I get done here. But here we just want you to sort this list. And you do that by moving the arrows up. So you can sort these three separate things you might do in your diagnostic process. If you're on a mobile, so your students, maybe if they're working from their phone, they would see this. So you can do it from either place. And then that gives a report out as well that we can see in the responses. Of course, nobody's responded yet, but I will show this after when the time is appropriate and after you all respond. So
you put the link in chat. Is that what you did, Jeff?
I'm going to right now.
Okay.
But you're on my chat screen. Why is that? Okay, so coming up right there, there is the link. Would you all please go through and sort the list? Should take you a minute, maybe.
What we're trying to do is show you that there's ways to keep the students engaged while you're having either technical difficulties or while you're actually, presenting your material.
So let's watch that list as the responses come in. So as you can see, you can watch that full time or real time, and each time a response is given. Move you, Tim, up over here. So we've got 10 responses so far. It's taken 25 seconds to complete. And here it keeps rolling. So this is just one example with one question of a way you could poll your students and ask them, what would they do next? What's more important to their troubleshooting process? This is not a test with a right or wrong answer. It's an assessment so that you can see what the heck is going on in their brains. And are they actually getting what they're supposed to be getting? So I'll share this again later. I'm going to turn it back over to Tim.
There can be a bunch of discussions about this too. You can stop and actually make this, a lesson in itself. Why did you say? It looks like the majority of you decided to do this first. Why? And let them explain it. Meaning, let the students kind of lead the discussion. You just kind of prompt them. You're giving them, nuggets to chew on and let them talk about it. In this particular environment, it might be that they talk about it in the chat room. And again, you have a facilitator who watches that and says, Johnny says it should do this. How come? And let him explain why. That's kind of the campfire part of what I was saying is that eventually what I like to do on these kind of scenarios is have a point person be the diagnostician. I hand them the keys and the repair order, and they have to diagnose the car, but they've got their buddies around to support them if needed. And in this situation, it might be that he comes up on his camera's on and he's the only one here. I didn't want to put somebody on the spot and do that. That's why I kind of used Jeff. Eventually, I'd like to see, if as we get this thing rolling, I'd like to see you guys contribute too. But having said that, I would have, Jeff, so to speak, would be my go-to student. He would have the keys and repair order, and he would start having us maybe be his hands and doing things on the engine bench or on the car, however you guys do it, and ask him why he's choosing that particular test. Well, why did you decide to do that first? You know, what are your expectations before you do it, and then kind of go from there.
Yeah, in the chat, there's a lot of questions about, could this be done in SurveyMonkey? Could this be done in Zoom or Kahoot or Google Forms? Yes, it can be done in all those forms. The benefit for us to using Microsoft Forms is it comes with our Microsoft package. I'm not going out and learning something new or buying a new piece of software that I have to try to figure out how I'm going to roll into it. It's right there within our Microsoft that ecosphere, if you will. So the other thing, Dan Beeson, what are the inherent benefits? I'll show you if we have time after we get off the recording that you know, people were asking about how do I get credit for attending one of these classes? Well, we need a time log and an email address. The Excel spreadsheet that is attached to this form logs the email address and the time. So we would be more easy to be able to push out some sort of a certificate of attendance so that you can get credit for your 20 hours through ASE. And that's all I got there, Tim.
I know I'm trying to get talk Kevin through this thing here. Well, let's just be transparent. Kevin, I want you to turn the key off, turn the HMI off, and turn the main power off. Wait about 5 seconds. Turn the main power back on. I'm hoping that you're hearing me here.
Yeah, I am.
Okay. Turn the main power switch back on. Turn the HMI should start booting up by itself when you do that. And then you just go ahead and turn the key on and let the HMI get all the way up to its home screen.
I'm going to have to reconnect the scanner as well.
Yeah, that's okay. So let me do this real quick here.
Now, there already is an updated version of this software. It's just not on this tablet yet. So.
Okay, y'all can see this, correct?
Yep.
Let me show you what we're doing here. So in this particular, again, tab, I'll kind of give you a little bit of a run through real fast. We've taken the operation manual that comes with it that used to be print, and we've included it into the tablet itself. Go to the home button and go to, like I showed you earlier, the breakout box, which is straight from Pro Demand and can be pinched and zoomed, etc. So finding your the breakout box pinouts. We've got component locator, which could be I don't know, an introduction to the bench itself. Got wiring diagrams, showed you that already. And then I'll show scenario numbers later, but we've also got the instructor mode part, and I'll log into that and show you. I don't really want to go in too far because it's going to reveal some of the stuff, but basically it goes into, if I go into the case studies, I'll go into, let's say 7, and it actually gives the instructor what we've done and what to look for, what code will come up, what pin numbers to check it, to see the difference on, or I guess measure the fault on. So, and they've got many lessons that so long story short is you can go in there and actually just have the students introduce a fault into it and have to diagnose it. You can introduce a fault, or you can go in and let me show you this on like CSO7. There's a scenario number. Can you guys see my cursor?
Yep.
There's a scenario number 4007, so you can go back to the main deal. And, let's say you work through case studies with students and they remember what case study 3 was, you could give it to them again under a scenario number and see if they really learned it, because they won't know what case study it was. It's a different number. So we got a couple different ways of going about this. Okay,
Dan Beeson mentions in the chat, this is a good example of how things don't always go as planned. As an instructor, you got to roll with it, as is being demonstrated now live. I suspect all students are going to allow an extra grace because we're learning all these different modalities.
Well, and some of it is this bench is prototype, and some of the things that I've run into when I did, like I said, we've debuted it at Vision, and I used it in a class at Colorado, and I ran into a little bit of the same thing. Kevin and I this morning have been on this bench since probably about 10:30 or 11 o'clock this morning, going through and working this stuff out. I have found it seems like if you turn the key on and off too many times, the HMI will disconnect. So Kevin's going to start all over again. And I found really that's about the only way I could get it to work, would be to power everything back down again and power it back up. And if I'm going to say the other thing, Kevin, when you get it powered back up, we might insert the case study through the instructor side. Okay, so
Okay, I've shut the main power down. I've turned it back on. We're rebooting right now.
let's why don't you put your camera on, and I might as well watch you sweat.
It's the nice thing about this team is that we're willing to hang it out there. And
So you've got the key on, or you okay? Turn the HMI on. Okay. Either you froze up or you're overdoing it. Okay. Nope. Hit it again. Just a light press and get out of there. Let go. There you go.
yeah, Joe comes in and says that's important. Sometimes you have to be like a giraffe and stick your neck out.
You got to push it again, Kevin. I think you keep turning it off or something. Okay, maybe hold it longer then. I don't know.
Well, let's
Yeah.
I was gonna say, let's go back and look at the our report.
There you go.
16 responses.
Okay, it should introduce itself. So go to instructor, go to no, okay. I want you to do it in instructor if you would.
I am.
No, you're not. You're in student if you're blue.
I'm orange.
Okay, go back to home. Hit the little home button. Go down to case studies in orange.
Ah, okay, I see.
And then hit 2. And hit green, and then it should.
We're good.
There you go. Okay, now, so we heard it run before. Now, what do you call it? Customer concern was it cranked hard and had the check engine light on. So let's verify a complaint. Okay, so leave it running. We've got some observation here. Do we see a check engine light on? Is there anybody? Anybody? Bueller?
Is that up by the 7 on the tachometer or the speedometer?
We could get closer, but
Like
no.
engine light's right around here.
Yeah, the check engine light is not on. We can zoom the camera in if you'd like, but it's not on.
It's not on.
So let's turn it off. Turn the car off. Key on. Now, got a question. Where are we at on the scan tool? Is it even connected yet? Is it reconnected by any chance?
Establishing vehicle communication, we're connected. Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. So now you can see with the key on, you can see where the check engine light is. It's like around the 20-mile-an-hour marker on the speedometer. Do you see it,
Yep.
everybody?
Yep.
Okay, start it up again. And let's listen one more time. Okay, now we have check engine light on. Is there anything else we notice? Just because we're supposed to be observant? Why don't you rev it up a little bit and see what it sounds like too? Okay. Any comments on any other observations, Jeff?
Lots of other warning lights. Is the speedo working? Oh, it's probably not good. It had a long crank.
Had a long crank. The speedometer is working a little bit because we've got.
So it's the speedo's not working.
No, that's back up. Why is this?
Excuse me, the tach's not.
Thank you. Okay. Turn it off. What do we do now? Turn it off and key back on. Okay, what do we do now? We've observed the fault. I mean, we've observed the customer concern. We now have a check engine light, and we've noticed the tachometer doesn't work. What do you guys want to do next?
In the chat. Looking for feedback. Use the scan tool to verify crank signal. Scan for DTCs. Check cam crank signal. Check data. Codes.
So codes. Let's back up one step real quick. What was the assessment that we had you guys do? That Jeff had you all do while we were stalling for time there. It was put things in order. Do you remember what kind of rose to the top of the order?
Hang on.
I mean, you can show that again. I don't know if you, yeah. Holy mackerel,
So
it's already 28.
62.5% said clear codes and see if they reset.
First thing, they said to clear codes.
Test and 62.5% also said to test and record the open circuit battery voltage.
Okay.
So
I want to do that
equally
first.
split. And
Which one should we do? Which one should we do first?
And for that, we have to look at the chat, which I am not into. Hang on.
So we're getting burned by the clock here, too,
Yep.
by the way. That's why we're going to do part 2.
Okay, crystal ball. Yeah, put 3 things in order. That's Dan. Check the TSBs. Check codes and data related to the code. Don't clear the codes. Do not clear them first. Carl says check TSBs, codes, and then TSBs come up. Codes, test fuel pressure. Check codes. Let it roll an extra 15 minutes. I think we're going to stay in a time wall, Marshall, actually.
Okay, so let's back up. We're not actually trying to fix this car. We are trying to come up with a process to engage your students, and look how it's kind of, I think, finally coming together here. We were able to get the problem in there, which ate up a few minutes of our time. But the idea is that the end result's the same. We've got a problem. We've got a check engine light, and we've got a lot of opinions on where to go. Okay. And what I want to do, and I'm trying to be as conscientious as I can about sticking to the 30 minutes. I know this has been a big tease, but let's do this. You see where we're going. I want to come back tomorrow and take it from here and vet out some of these comments and see which one is going to get us to a solution. And Kevin, again, will be our hands. He'll take whatever measurements you want. We'll do whatever we need to do. We'll look stuff up if we have to. But I think I want to kind of leave it there. Jeff and I are going to work on some assessment questions that we'll put together for the Thursday lesson to see if, I guess, observations of how it's going today, observations of how it's going tomorrow, and see what you actually learned on a Thursday. So if that wasn't a big tease, then I don't know what was. So my hope is that you're interested enough to come back tomorrow, proceed, and it could be 5 o'clock at night and customer doesn't need his car. We're going home and we're going to come back in the morning and take a look at it again. So
So
for,
some of the comments, Tim, some of the comments before we close the recording down, keep going if you guys are okay with it. Let's keep going, and that no RPN means something. And I agree with all of those.
So they want to keep going today.
Yeah. And
I'm fine with that. I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't my call to drag this out if people had something to do. Okay, so I want to go back to,
okay.
I want to go back to your chart. I mean, your assessment first. It was clear codes or check battery. I don't want to be the teacher here, but I'm not clearing any codes until I check a battery. So I'm going to have Kevin just.
I'll share my screen. Hold on.
Yeah. So you can hover over that, Jeff, and it gives you a percentage. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I was wrong about the emails, but we'll figure that out.
You guys can read the DVOM there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just for simplicity's sake, I could take the readings on the battery, but I could take them right here on the breakout box as well. So
at the DLC. So, okay, okay, my next question to my students would be, is that good voltage?
Put it out in the chat.
I'll wait here all day, young man.
So 75%. I got one that says it's 75% of a charge.
Yeah, very good.
Somebody says 12.6, but 12.4 will do. Yeah, I'm one of the 12.6 guys. Better than 11.9, Joe says. Yeah. So
not a dead battery. You're right. State of charge isn't where it should be. I'm curious, just because I'm here and hooked up, I would start it and see what charging voltage is. What are we expecting, by the way? Good hand. What's charging?
What should we expect? Throw that in the chat.
Yeah.
14.5, 14, 13.6, 14.2. So something above that 12.6 for sure.
Okay.
12.5, 14.2.
So are we happy that the charging system's working?
We'll put that in the chat. Are we happy? Yep.
Okay. So what next? Need to go pull code? Did we pull code? I can't remember. Did we already pull a code?
No, we didn't pull a code yet.
Do we do that next? Do we start checking the air in the left front tire? Do we empty the truck out to level the car? What do we do? Hang on for that.
Codes. Everybody's codes.
Okay. Do we do it with the engine running, the engine off?
Come on, guys. EO. Just check it now.
So turn off, key back on. Okay, so Kevin's got the scan tool up there. You guys are dying to know what, just, could I be a jerk and ask what you guys are expecting? What code?
Long crank, cam code, CKP, something CMP. So
Okay.
we're all, everybody's going to a rotation type sensor.
Okay. Well, let's read the code, Kevin.
Joe likes low fuel pressure.
Oh, okay. PO 335, crank position sensor. Okay. So if this was AutoZone, we'd be selling a crank sensor.
Yeah.
I'm listening to the laughing going on out there right now. I just know it's happening. So, where do we go next? I mean, we know it's more difficult than that, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Circuit code, no crank, so it does it go look back at the oil pressure around the fuel pump. Buy two in case the first one doesn't fix it.
So what I guess I would ask my students, what's the enabling criteria for that particular scenario? I mean, why does the check engine light come on for a PO 335?
Good question. Why does it?
I'm going to steal it back.
What
okay, go ahead.
What is the enabling criteria for that code?
So I'm going to steal it back from you for a second, Kevin. And
so what Tim's going to show you is within the, I hope he is, within the HMI tool, the enabling criteria are right there. Right there. Nice.
so general description tells us how CKP works. And then the DTC description cannot find a reference mark 2 or more times during starting. Well, didn't we have it that we started one time and the check engine light wasn't on? The second time it was. So it can't find a reference mark, okay? Let's look at this real quick while I have your attention. Here's all the things that go along, the symptoms that go along with a crank position sensor. Stalled, doesn't start, starts hard, runs rough, stalls at idle, oil pressure light on, engine hesitates, lacks power, stalls and doesn't restart. Oh, the tachometer is inoperable. Engine starts when hot, or hard when hot. Any other? Go ahead.
Joe says, look for TSB's service information. Did you create this chart, Tim?
I got this out of actually Pro Demand, I think. It's in the factory service information. It's their diagnostic tree. It might have been Identifix, but it shows basically that out of the silver bullets are all going to this 309, and then I like the TSB idea. I mean, I haven't pulled them up yet, but this is a chart basically saying who travels together when in this particular situation. A lot of times it's cam and crank. So just that.
Cool.
So what would we do next? Try and find the sensor? Is there anything we can do at the bob? Is there anything we do with the scan tool?
Okay, hang on. Yeah, Dan says we need to demonstrate to our students how to use silver bullet information responsibly.
Okay, because they would have gone and looked that up. if they started looking at TSBs, they probably would have seen something like this, one way or another, correct? And so what do they do? You know, like I was joking about AutoZone, what do? They run out and throw a sensor in there. What if it doesn't need a sensor? I mean, how do we know if it's, I guess in my head, you know, I see, well, let me look here, hang on.
Bill Adams says, no chart, use the scope and a wiring diagram. And I agree, that's part of helping those students learn how to learn, right?
Okay.
Dan B says too many techs would stop and sell a sensor without any further diagnosis.
I agree. Hang on just a second here. I'm going to try something. Maybe I'm not.
Did the last guy leave the sensor unplugged?
Okay, can you see the rainbow, the HMI?
Yes.
Okay, then let's go look here. Let's go to wiring diagrams. And without trying to make you guys seasick, I already know where it's at, so I'm going to go there and instead of trying to search around, because you know how it is when you're not the one at the control here and I start moving things around, it's going to make me want to throw up. So can you see that?
Yes.
And I'm going to back it up just so we can see the white wire too. So basically you're seeing the whole circuit there. The brown and the white wire going to the crank position sensor. You're seeing at the bottom, if you got to turn your head sideways, but basically that represents the second connector on the ECU, or the right side of the breakout box, and it's labeled by Hyundai EGGM, meaning manual transmission -KG. And so that's the side of the harness to the ECU that has the crank position sensor wires going to it. And it's got brown 89 and white number 67. Do we go to there and do any measuring?
Marshall says put the scope on pins 67 and 89 while cranking.
Okay. Didn't want to go to a scope today. I mean, I get that. That was going to put a layer of a degree of difficulty in here that I didn't want to have to go to. But let me throw it back at, and this, if Marshall was my student, I'd say, what are you expecting to see? Some type of what?
So he says, hey, a DMM works for me too. Yeah, I get it. Voltage verifying up and down.
Okay, so you're saying in voltage between 89 and 67 with the engine cranking and running or whatever, and you're looking for what? Voltage varying? Will you see it with a DVOM? Well, let's see.
Let's see.
Put it. You have your voltmeter in 20 volts, Kevin?
I do.
Okay.
And
The way that breakout box is set up, there's the small section on the left is the AG, the section on the right is the KG. It's just like looking at the end of the harness. I mean, yeah, the harness plugging in the ECM, if you unplugged it, it looks similar to that. And then every one of those pins represents OEM service information, I mean, numbering. So
67 and 89. And then, then the comments are, what are you measuring? And people will say AC volts.
Oh, so we need to be on AC volts?
On AC.
Okay. So that's the one below it, Kevin. And this is where we're going to kind of stump Kevin. It's got the little wavy line. Okay.
Yeah.
Now you got to tilt the meter a little bit because the glare is just, I can't see the numbers. Okay, perfect. Well, better. Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, that works. Good one, Kevin.
So we're expecting to see an AC generated signal. Is that right?
Yes.
Crank it and see.
Frequency or duty cycle. Yeah, Joe says you got nothing.
You got nothing. Okay, turn it off. Key on, please. Key back on. That's where I think we lose our interface if we don't leave the key on. So what do we know any more now? I don't know.
Well, maybe you got an open in the wire. Okay.
Could be that. Could be the sensor itself open.
Yeah.
What would we do next?
Check it at the sensor. Joe says,
Okay.
check it at the sensor.
What are we going to check? Check what's it. Check it.
Same test at the sensor.
So sensor plugged in or unplugged?
Check AC voltage at the sensor. Yeah, I'm not getting somebody's back probe first.
Okay, now we're getting
Franco
into,
says it doesn't matter.
and now we're getting into where I'm not sure I want, no offense, Kevin, I don't know why I want him down there doing that.
I'm okay. I can back probe, but up to you.
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure.
I think that's tomorrow.
Well, we could do that tomorrow. I want to have more setup for it. I don't want to try and find a way to do it without damaging it. And really, a lot of, in all honesty, these engine benches are set up where you do most of your measuring here at the breakout box because of the fact that students are not quite, and I'm going to insult Kevin by saying this, but not quite delicate enough to mess with these connectors on a repetitive basis with them and have them survive the integrity.
Yeah,
So,
and Bill comments that do not unplug. It may change the connection properties. So that's very important as well, as to try to not.
So I want to play that one out. And I'm going to put words in your mouth. Did you mean that if you unplug it and plug it back in, if there was a corrosion or resistance at the plug-in, you could disturb the scene of the crime by doing that, and the problem might go away? And as a technician in a shop, you'd be going, I unplugged it and plugged it back in, and now everything's fine. I think there was a problem. Versus I caught it in its failed state with my meter, and I absolutely know it's a problem before I disturbed anything. I guess my point is, I as a service advisor, I can't sell, I think we fixed it. I can sell data that, I caught it doing this. I saw it with my meter. I took it apart. I fixed it. I put it back and I retested it and it works fine. I didn't just wiggle a connection and everything started working. Is that kind of what that was a long interpretation of what you were saying, but is that what you meant?
I see Franco comments that I think we got the point. Proving that clearing codes wasn't the first choice.
Okay.
A test point could be added. Dan says it's a great opportunity for student discussion and looking at what the DTC chart says and discussing how good and bad DTC charts may be constructed. So yeah, there's a ton of teaching moments here that we've glossed over, right? I mean, there's so much more here than well, we're still recording, but there's so much more here than the 45 minutes of content. I mean, you could spin this for quite a while, I think.
I'm gonna kick the recording off at this point so we don't go over 45.
Yeah. Bill says, oops,